The upward spiral opens with a simple but hopeful premise. Depression is not a single overwhelming force, but a loop of small biological and psychological processes that feed each other. If those loops can spiral downward, they can also spiral upward. Alex Korb invites the reader to stop thinking of motivation, happiness, or energy as traits you either have or don't have, and instead see them as outcomes of tiny, repeatable actions that gently change how the brain functions. The book grounds this idea in neuroscience without turning it cold or abstract. Korb explains that depression is often driven by underactivity in the prefrontal cortex and overactivity in threat and stress systems. When the brain is stuck reacting instead of planning, everything feels heavier. The key insight is that you don't need to fix your mood first. You change behavior first, and the brain follows. One of the earliest actionable shifts the book emphasizes is decision-making. Even making small decisions activates the prefrontal cortex, which is often sluggish during depression. Korb reframes choice as a form of mental exercise. Picking what to eat, what task to do next, or when to step outside isn't trivial, it's literally waking up the brain regions responsible for control and hope. From there, the book explores how movement affects mood at the chemical level. Physical activity increases dopamine and serotonin, but Korb is careful not to oversell exercise as a cure-all. He frames it as a nudge, not a transformation. A short walk, light stretching, or standing up regularly can start shifting neurochemistry enough to make the next step feel possible. Another powerful theme is the role of gratitude, not as forced positivity but as a neurological lever. When you consciously recall something you appreciate, the brain releases dopamine. Korb suggests practicing gratitude at specific moments, such as before sleep or after meals, to train the brain to notice rewards again. Over time, this weakens the dominance of negative bias. Sleep is treated not as a moral failing but as a biological system deeply entangled with mood. The book explains how poor sleep increases stress hormones and impairs emotional regulation the next day. Korb offers practical strategies like consistent wake times and light exposure in the morning, emphasizing that stabilizing sleep can stabilize mood even before emotions catch up. Social connection appears as another understated but crucial factor. Depression often pushes people to withdraw, yet isolation worsens brain chemistry tied to safety and belonging. Korb highlights how even brief social interactions, eye contact, small talk, shared laughter, can release oxytocin and calm the stress response. You don't need deep conversations to benefit, presence alone matters. Stress management in the book focuses on breathing and bodily awareness rather than mental reframing. Slow breathing activates the vagus nerve, signaling safety to the brain. Korb presents this as a direct switch you can flip, especially during moments of overwhelm. Instead of trying to think your way out of stress, you breathe your way out first. The book also reframes rumination as a habit of neural loops rather than a personal flaw. When the brain repeatedly revisits negative thoughts, it strengthens those pathways. Korb suggests interrupting rumination with sensory input, movement, or structured thinking tasks. The goal isn't to suppress thoughts but to redirect attention long enough for the loop to weaken. Motivation is addressed with refreshing honesty. Korb dismantles the myth that motivation precedes action. In the depressed brain, action creates motivation, not the other way around. He encourages starting embarrassingly small, because success, even minimal success, releases dopamine and builds momentum. Food and gut health make a subtle but important appearance. The book explains how blood sugar crashes, inflammation, and poor nutrition can worsen mood regulation. Rather than strict diets, Korb emphasizes regular meals, protein, and stability. Consistency matters more than perfection. One of the book's most empowering messages is that setbacks don't erase progress. Neural change is slow and nonlinear. A bad day doesn't mean the spiral is broken, it means the brain is learning. Korb normalizes relapse as part of rewiring, not evidence of failure. The storytelling becomes especially human when Korb shares clinical observations and real-world examples. People don't heal because they suddenly feel hopeful. They heal because they keep nudging their system in small ways even when hope is absent. These stories reinforce that change is mechanical before it is emotional. As the book progresses, the reader begins to see depression less as an enemy and more as a stuck system. This shift alone reduces shame. When suffering is framed as circuitry rather than character, compassion becomes easier, for yourself and others. By the final chapters, the upward spiral feels tangible. The reader understands how one small action can unlock another, how momentum builds quietly, and how the brain responds to repetition. The emphasis is not on becoming happy, but on becoming functional enough for joy to eventually reappear.